Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean and Eat Clean podcast. My name is Gryn. I'm a certified health coach, trainer, and author. And this podcast is for middle-aged men and women looking to optimize their health and get their bodies back to what it once was 10 to 15 years ago. I will give you simple, actionable items to get long-term sustainable results. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Gryn. Hope you had a great weekend, enjoyed the Super Bowl, and also maybe had some time to listen to my interview with Colin Stuckert. Tons of great information regarding not only health, but just productivity, setting goals. And Colin is a knowledgeable individual who's an entrepreneur and owns a big time supplement company. So I think will be worth your time to definitely listen to if you haven't already. Today, we're going to talk about a topic. This is a question that comes up a lot with my clients and just I get from time to time. What's the deal with fruit? And, there's a rhetoric out there that, oh, fruit's so good for you and you should be eating it all the time. And I think at one point I was somewhat along that bandwagon. I never was a huge fruit eater, but I would have it quite a bit. And through the years, I've cut back. I'm going to talk to you about reasons why. And then also maybe some tips as far as how you can put fruit into your diet in a manner that isn't overwhelming or something that you do all the time. But I think if you find certain times to do it and eat seasonally, it makes a lot of sense. So the one thing with fruit is it gets stored and metabolized in the liver. Unlike glucose, fructose, which is the main sugar in fruit, isn't used for energy. Actually, it gets stored in the liver, and so you'll hear people talk about excess fructose can damage the liver and cause insulin resistance. Now, a lot of times that has to go with when I talk about high fructose corn syrup, and when it's in a form that's really processed. That's really when it can cause damage. So I think it would be very difficult to overeat fruit and damage the liver, but it can be done. So not all fruit is bad, but you do have to watch out for excess fructose and avoid it in the processed form because that can have some negative side effects. Now, the thing with fruit is it has vitamins, it has minerals, it has coenzymes. And I think a lot of people like to maybe juice over eating it. And I always tell people avoid that if possible. If you're going to choose between juicing an orange or eating an orange, definitely eat the orange because when you're juicing it, you're taking out the fiber. And not that I'm like a huge fiber guy, but fiber slows digestion. And that can go a long way if you look at foods and how they're going to affect your blood sugar. You look at things like glycemic index, glycemic load. So if you got to choose between eating versus juicing, definitely eat it. Here are some other tips that I like to abide by. I like to stick to the berries. They tend to have less fructose and more fiber, and quite a bit of antioxidants and polyphenols. Now, you might be sensitive to some fruits. We'll talk about maybe some less toxic ones and some more toxic things that you maybe want to avoid. So I would also not eat fruit. I would actually not combine fruit with many things. You don't want to have it with a high cholesterol food, such as like eggs or meat or bacon, because it will oxidize the cholesterol and potentially create some inflammation. So a lot of people may have like breakfast and they'll have eggs and fruit. Again, there could be worse options, but if you're going to eat it, maybe try to eat it on its own and not combine it with a higher cholesterol eating food, quite like eggs or bacon or meat or things like that. You could also strategically use it on like a carb refeed days. There's a lot of individuals, including myself sometimes, where I'll have days where I'm very low carb or no carbs. And there's other days where maybe I'm more active and I just want to mix it up and sort of stay metabolically flexible and add a little bit of carbs in from time to time. And so you can add in some fruit during like your carb refeed days. So that could be sort of a targeted routine that you might want to do. And then also a good rule to abide by is maybe eat it seasonally. like our ancestors did. If it wasn't around, they didn't eat it. And so you don't really need to eat it all year round. And like I mentioned, you can have periods of low carb. And then if you want to add in a bit of higher carb days, you can add in maybe some bananas, maybe some dates or oranges or apples from time to time, but eat it seasonally. So maybe just wait for the farmer's market in Chicago. We don't have it right now, but you might have it all year round if you're in a warmer climate. So when the farmer's market comes up, maybe we'll buy some seasonal fruit and eat it then. So really, I think, and I know Dr. Paul Saladino talks about, fruit is one of those things. They're somewhat of a fallback food. I don't think it was something that was evolutionary eaten all the time. And so a lot of times actually we ate fruit to gain extra fat and to actually put on weight for the coming winter. So, keep that in mind as well. Not to say that if you have a banana from time to time, that you're going to actually put on a lot of weight. But if you're overdoing it, then that's when it could be an issue. So eat in moderation. Now, you'll hear about foods that might be more toxic. And I've talked about plant compounds that could be more toxic and tougher on the gut. Things like beans and legumes, even nightshades. These could cause issues with you. And if you find that you're having a lot of gas and bloating and maybe some skin issues from that, you might want to keep an eye on eating some of those more toxic foods and some less toxic foods. And Dr. Saladino talks about this a lot, that he's implemented into his diet. And you never think of avocado as a fruit, but it is. And it's something that I actually have, not every day, but I'll have it with eggs from time to time, or on its own. Or berries and squash and cucumbers are on the less toxic side, a little bit easier to digest and to take in, as opposed to a lot of grains, nuts, and seeds that have anti-nutrients and that might cause some gut issues, which I've talked about actually in my last micro podcast regarding why I sort of gotten a little bit more into eating meat and avoiding some of these anti-nutrients. So keep that in mind. And, hopefully this will help guide you if you are eating fruit a lot. Maybe cut back a little bit. I wouldn't be juicing it or throw it in a blender a ton. You can have an orange, or you can have a banana from time to time, and maybe have it maybe even like a post-workout shake if you want. But if every morning you're having that, that high oxalate spinach, almond, banana smoothie, maybe cut back on the almonds and the spinach and add something else in there. But definitely eat over juicing and eat seasonally. Because remember, fruit it has mainly fructose in it, and that's going to be stored in your liver. We're not going to use that for energy. So, anyways, just wanted to clarify that. Gotten that question regarding fruit, and if you got any questions, feel free to email me, Brian@briangryn.com, and enjoy the rest of your week. And we will talk to you later. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangryn.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again, and have a great day.